Slam Shady Baby. That is the message I got from a friend recently who just caught their personal best redfish on artificial lures using the Slam Shady 2.0. This thing catches everything, big or small, it catches them all. It has over, I think, 130 documented different species caught on this one lure. I don't know of any other paddle tail or swim bait that can say that. Will this catch every single thing? And is it the best lure ever? No, there's not such a thing. There are certain instances when you need certain specific lures and depth changes, etc. But in general, just to go out and catch fish, whether you're on a dock just trying to catch a bass, or if you're trying to catch a snook or a trout, anything inshore, this thing is amazing. You need it in your tackle bag. Go to fishstrong.com and get yours and pair it up with that Haas Helix. That is that weedless weighted hook, the Haas Helix hook. I recommend going with a 1/8 and a 3/0 hook. And we've got the Slam Shady 2.0 in both 7-packs and 100 packs. Go get yours today at fishstrong.com. And remember, Insider members save 20% or more on everything in our store. So go check it out now. And here's the podcast.
It's fishing, it's in my soul.
Welcome to the Salt Strong Podcast, disrupting fishing entertainment as you know it. Prepare to laugh. Prepare to get to know fishing legends in a whole new and unfiltered way.
And on occasion, you might even learn a thing or two about fishing.
Here's your host, Joe Simons. Like diamonds.
Is this braided fishing line unfair? Hey everybody, Joe Simons, like diamonds.
Hey, I'm Luke Simons.
Like diamonds. A lot of people in the last podcast, the last YouTube channel podcast said, what's up with the like diamonds? Well, here's the deal. We've been picked on for years. People calling us Simmons. Our last name is Simonds. My son now is coming home like, why they call me Jackson Simmons? I was like, dude, you got to correct it. It's Simons like diamonds. And that really is the story. Even at my own baptism, my mom still has trouble forgiving that pastor in front of all the family and friends going to that church. My parents were going to that church, and they said, Joseph Lockwood Simmons. And so Simon's like diamond. The DS confuses people. So anyhow, that's why it is. And we'll continue to keep doing it for as long as you guys love it and hate it. So we appreciate all the comments on the Simon's like diamonds. We're also trying to go live on YouTube for the first time using this river. It's live. Perfect. All right.
Yeah, I just got on my phone. So we'll figure out, we'll answer questions live, but yeah, we'll be talking about this change in braid that I've been doing recently that has had shockingly good results. There are some cons though, so we wanted to talk through it and be able to answer questions live as they come in. So,
yep. So this is part 3 of our kind of eye-opening line sequence, podcast, YouTube, etc. And if you missed last week's, it actually just went live. We recorded it a week ago, and that's already getting a ton of comments, and it's about what we consider maybe one of the biggest scams in the fishing tackle industry, and just fluorocarbon and why it's not needed. And even a lot of guys, I saw quite a few captains have commented on there saying, yeah, I use old school Andy Mono all day, every day, and we catch plenty of fish. Haven't seen a difference to pay 5 to 18 or 20 times more for fluor that hasn't really proven to be a superior product. So we'll continue to keep doing these and just sharing what we've tested. We're not we don't have skin in the game as it goes to the line stuff. We obviously do sell both at fishstrong.com. We make more if you buy fluoro, but we made it very clear that you don't need fluoro, and we personally are using mono. We're going to talk about. We just want to have a little bit more data. Doing some little deep diving on this proposed new cruise ship terminal in Tampa. Kind of came out of the blue, at least for me. And I'm like, at first I was like, this has got to be a joke, right? We already have a cruise ship terminal in Tampa, and they're talking about doing an even bigger one, and probably some of the most pristine water in Tampa. Like if you've ever flown over Tampa, St. Pete area, which many of you have, there's this one area, it's just undeveloped. It's beautiful. It's estuary, like it's great fishing, and they're talking about doing it there. It's super shallow. It's like, how much would they have to dig out? So something seems weird, even just looking at who owns all of it and some of the things that have changed hands. I mean, we went or at least I did a pretty big deep dive today. I don't know. It seems kind of fishy. I don't that's going to happen. There is a change.org. If you want to look that up, if you want to sign the petition, I did. I think that's a good thing. I personally don't think it makes any sense to put one right there, especially when we already have a terminal. We don't need bigger ships coming into Tampa. Another cool little fact, Luke, I don't know if you know this. I was curious, how many people last year went on a cruise? What do you think? In America, how many Americans?
Worldwide? Oh, okay, America.
How many Americans actually went on a cruise?
I wouldn't even have a guess. I don't even know. I have no idea.
It was less than 20 million, 19 something million. And if you do the same Google search, how many people went fishing and paid for some sort of either a license or a fishing trip in 2025 and 2024, it was 50 million. So there's, even if they were off by 10, which they could be, that's still double the amount of people went fishing in America than even took a cruise. So I don't know, the whole thing just, it seems odd. And those are Americans that took a cruise anywhere in the world. And we're talking about one port in Tampa. I don't see it making any sense. Anyhow, we'll do more on that, but I wanted to address it because we've gotten some emails about it here the last 48 hours, and it's certainly on our radar, and we're trying to learn as much as we can on. So back to...
Scott, I'll do a shout out to Seth Scott. He says he hopes the port does not go in as well. So same here. I don't know much about it, but I love that fishery down there, and I would be ashamed to see it get developed.
Just doesn't make any sense. And so the good news is the reason I looked up those numbers, in the day, it's about money. Unfortunately, it just is. But it's also about voters. And voters can trump money if you have enough people who are upset about, and anglers have done in the past, got rid of some of the crazy golf course ideas. So we have a chance as anglers, if there's 50 million people, and that's nationwide, of course, that are into fishing and went fishing last year. And I know we have a huge amount of people on the west coast of Florida, but even all of Florida, no one should really want this. So there's a change.org. You can just look at it. It says Stop Manatee County from building a cruise ship port. It's got over 7,000 signatures. Last time I looked at it, this morning, it looks like it's growing already. But yeah, Stop Manatee County from building a cruise ship port on Rattlesnake Key at change.org. And I think they're trying to get 10,000 signatures, and it looks like they'll probably hit that today, hopefully. So anyhow, let's get back into the fishing line. We won't spend too much more time on the cruise ship things. I think, I don't think it's going to happen personally. But you, Luke, had recently got back from a trip. And I always ask you how it went. You're like, man, it was awesome. And I outfished everyone. And I was like, oh, just typical Luke luck. And he's like, no. He's like, I did something specific. We're all fishing the same boat, pretty much same lures, same spots. Nothing was really different except for one thing, and it was your line. And you told me how low you went with it. And I was like, whoa. Because in general, I'm a 10-pound braid for most inshore saltwater fishing. There's some times you change it up if you're fishing deep structure, some of the bridges are, going after tarpon. But in general, for redfish and speckled trout and snook and flounder, it's, 10-pound braid, and you might beef up the leader line if you're fishing for bigger snook. But talk about what happened, what you did, and kind of your aha moments, the good, the bad, the ugly.
Yeah, so I was on a 2-day trip, and day one actually wasn't so good. I'm very competitive, even though on the boat, we're not really having a formal contest. But if you're like me, like you're having a contest. Like it's you never want to catch the fewest fish, nor the smallest. So day one is I was using my normal setup, and I actually lost. I was in control of the troll motor. Whoever's in charge of the troll motor should be catching the most fish when you're throwing lures. Yes, you do have to take some time to mess the troll motor, but you're in charge of positioning, you know where the boat's going to go. You oftentimes have first dibs at the best spots. And so anyhow, I didn't catch the biggest fish, and it was probably a draw as far as quantity wise. And I don't like to lose, which if you're not winning, you're losing, in my opinion. So day two, I was like, okay, I'm gonna win this one. And again, this isn't a formal contest, and I was just competing against everybody else in the boat. There are 2 other people in the boat, and we're actually trying to get a bunch of fillets for a big party. So we're going to try to actually grocery shop in. So we wanted to catch as many fish as possible that we could keep. And so we started out with trout fishing, and just a further backstory. So we started fishing. Joe and I were like struggling for years and using mono as far as our main line. And then we finally switched to braid, and we're using like 20-pound braid because, you know, the braid diameter is so small. And even at the tackle store, like, oh, you're going braid. Well, the 20-pound braid has a diameter of like a 5-pound mono. We're like, oh, sweet. Like we can have more strength while being thinner. And so, yeah, we were going 20-pound braid and rocking it. And then I finally tried 10-pound braid, and I was just like, wow, it's casting noticeably farther. I eventually did a casting contest shortly after we started Salt Strong on 10-pound braid versus 20-pound braid. Everything else equal, same rod, same reel.
It's all documented on YouTube as well.
Yeah, so same gap, you know, the line gap from the line on the spool to the rim. And the 10-pound braid was going about 20% farther than this 20. So the significant increase on casting distance with thinner braid. And that was just an aha moment. And so since then, I've been using mostly 10-pound braid, which is actually, you know, a cast a mile, but it actually has a lot of power as well. 10-pound braid with a good knot like the FG knot, it breaks usually around 20 to 24 pounds. The strongest I've had is 26 pounds on a 10-pound braid. That's more than enough to catch red snook and trout. So this day we were going after trout mostly, and it was one of those negative low tides, fishing down in Charlotte Harbor. And so all the fish are going to be pushed away from the trees. So this is a situation where you really don't need to have thick line. Like you do not need to have horsepower to catch a fish on an open flat. You just need to hook it and then make sure that your drag is loose enough to make sure it can't break off. And so competitive me was like, I'm going to go down to 6-pound braid. I'd recently pulled out my ultralight setup, which is a 1,000 size reel. It's actually right here. So 1,000 size reel. And I'll talk about the reel. I think I made a mistake on the reel, so I'll go into that later. But I pulled out this lightweight setup that has 6-pound braid, which is crazy thin. And then I went to the tapered leader where I had a 10-pound main leader. And then I guess you can see that knot in the picture. And then at the very end, right, the very end is the beefed up mono to make sure that I can handle snook. So this day in particular, I went with a 30-pound mono leader at the end because we had caught the overslot snook the day before. And so I just want to make sure, okay, if I do hook one of these big snook, I do not want it to chew through it. So this one in particular has a 20. I was out this morning and I was just going after reds and trout. So 20 pounds usually good for snook, beef up to 30. And so anyhow, so I was on the boat now with this 6-pound braid. Now I'm able to cast, a solid 30 feet farther than everybody else on the boat. So I had a clear advantage, and it was probably 6-1. Maybe actually, I guess we got more than that, but it was probably like a 10-3 ratio as far as the amount of fish I was catching. It was, I was catching the biggest and the most simply by changing the line. It was the same rod.
Did you tell them what you did? Or do they ask?
Yeah, they could see. I was casting. It wasn't even close. Like I was.
They're like, what are you doing? And did you tell them?
No, I could disclose that kind of information, Joe. I told them
they brought it up. They saw like, how are you out? Because the day before you weren't out casting. You were all pretty even. And then you're like casting 30 feet further, and they were like, not saying a word. I would have said something like, what are you doing?
Maybe they're competitive like me and they're mad at me. But yeah, anyhow, I mentioned the ultralight. They all knew there's no secret. And but yeah, it was just a night and day difference. And the key though is with this lighter line, you have to lighten up. You have to lighten up on the drag because that line is thin, and braid is fragile too. Just make sure that it doesn't get up across any kind of sharp objects. And it's kind of tough to tie knots with. So I think an 8-pound braid will probably be what I use more often. And this was a calm day as well. So this type of setup should not be used all the time because there is a much higher chance of these fish breaking off, and we want to make sure to never break off. So this is the type of thing to do when it's calm and clear and the fish are spooky, where you need to get extra distance. The farther we can cast, those of us who like to fish up in the shallows, the farther we can get the lures away from ourselves, that's the best strike zone we can possibly have. And especially when it's really calm, even a 10-pound braid. I was doing this the week before, which is why I spooled this up. I went up to to Port Richey, and it was glass calm, and even the 10-pound braid just landing on the water. If it landed within, obviously, if the lure landed within 10 feet of a redfish, they were spooking. But even if that line landed anywhere near the fish, those fish were gone. And with this 6-pound setup, I haven't yet seen a fish that is spooked from the line. It is crazy thin. Like it's like a hair, it's insanely thin. And
that again. So
I did one last thing. I did a knot contest with the FG knot, which is an amazing knot. This 6-pound braid breaks at around 11 pounds. So it's not just 6, but it's still much lighter than a 10-pound braid.
So that's really helpful. When you said that the fish were spooking because of the line, are you talking about when it lands and hits the water, or when you're retrieving underwater from drag? What are you talking about?
All the above. The thicker the line, the more they can feel it. Again, just that 10. It doesn't. I didn't believe. I guess I wouldn't believe it if I haven't seen it a bunch of times. But even that light line just landing on the water, gone. Another thing, twitching the rod. So I've been using this setup, and I've been catching 30-inch reds on this setup. And last weekend I got into some tailing reds, and they were so shallow that I was in the Pathfinder. I couldn't get up to them, so I hopped out and waited. And I caught three reds, 1 over slot, 2 upper slots, 6-pound braid, and this little tweaker, this Polk County tweaker, no weight and 0 rod tip twitches. Because what I was seeing is I was trying to do the typical jerk bait where you're doing the double twitch. At least that's my favorite retrieve. And just twitching that line, those fish can feel when they're up there shallow and it's calm. That's just the ultimate spooky factor. And in areas like Tampa Bay, Charlotte Harbor, there's a lot of traffic, and they're not dumb. The fish aren't smart, but also not stupid. They've eventually realized that, okay, if I feel this type of thing, which is the line going through the water and jerking, they're gone, or they're at least not going to eat. And you can usually see them. They'll usually, obviously, it'll be flat, and you'll see a V shoot off. They'll go about 10 feet, and then they'll slow down, and they just kind of slowly move away. But once they push up, it's rare that they eat. I do catch some after they push up, like in Crystal River, but not in Tampa Bay. Once you spook them, they're toast.
That's interesting. You went with the Haas hook, but not weighted at all. The unweighted. Okay.
Yeah.
And I guess because you had 6 pound, you're able to still cast it a decent way.
Oh my gosh. Yeah. It launches. And that lure is designed to cast far. So that weightless tweaker, on the weightless hook, it'll still cast farther than like the 2.0 on even a 1/4 ounce jig head. I would presume it launches. It's center of gravity is pretty far back, and there's very little wind resistance. So that puppy launches. And again, and even with that straight retrieve, it does like a little wobble in the water. And so I was just trying to ride it right up above the grass. And so I was doing this through, I would see one tail and another. So I think they were in like packs of 2 or 3. And so you never really knew how many fish were hidden that you couldn't see. So I didn't want to be twitching all the way through there. So I would just cast over a tail, try to go a little left or a little right, and then keep the rod tip up and do a slow retrieve. And yeah, granted, I did spook a couple, but it was all from the lure, like actually hitting them, or possibly the line, like actually, doing the ghost tap on the back. But I had 0 spooks from that line settling down. And obviously I didn't twitch it so that they wouldn't spook on that either. But yeah, it was just a blast. And that's the type of stuff that I never tried the straight retrieve on sight fishing like that, and it was surprisingly effective.
Did you let it sit at all? I'm not talking about like a pop, but you ever let it?
Well, I did a couple times to try to I was like, I think it's because I could see it's some tails, and I was like, I'm pretty sure the lure's close to it, and so I'd pause it and do a slower drag. All my strikes just came on the straight retrieve. And now that was this particular trip as well as the trip before. I got some big trout doing that.
I forgot to tell you. So you and I met yesterday, and we looked at some of those new lures. I don't know if you have them or can tease it, but I rigged one up last night. Just went down to the dock. It's a black tweaker with some. Can we share this yet? There's this.
Yeah, you can share it. I just don't have any next to me.
I got some behind me. I'll have to grab one in a second.
Yeah, I caught a slam on it this morning.
Yeah, so I went out. It was the very first. I did my little tap, and I was like, let me just see what it looks like. Because I got one of those lights out there, and it was sun had just set, and the light had turned on, the underwater green light, and so I just did a straight retrieve, real slow around that weed line. That's when a bass came up and just crushed it. So that's cool. So you got a slam already this morning on them, huh?
Yeah, I did a video for just how to fish after cold fronts, and yeah, I got a slam, but I was switching between the Prawn Junior and this tweaker on this that Joe's showing up. It's basically jet black with some really small silver flakes. Yeah, there it is. And I had it rigged. I rigged mine on the 3/16 ounce jig head, bouncing bottom, and fish were digging it.
Tweaker, and this is the 2.0. So, and I missed. Did you tell the story about kind of why this color came about?
No, I haven't. But I just want to answer one question. I see one coming. Have you all tested Variva's braid? I have not tested that one yet. And the braid that I was using has been J Braid 8 grain. I've really liked that. I've tested a bunch of braids, and the thin ones now have my vote. I will not go back to a 4-strand ever. Because that vibration, the vibration of the line going through the guides, I've seen fish spook off just from that. So I go as smooth as possible. The J Braid 8 grain tested well for casting distance and knot strength. The combination has exceeded anything else I've tested. I'll keep an eye out for this Variva's braid. I've not yet seen that one. But the backstory on this color is back in the day, I was an absolute bass fishing addict. And there was one worm that was like my most trusted of all, as from a company called Renegade. They were in Walmart. It was a pretty big company. And they had this one color, and I don't remember the name of it, but it was jet black with these little small silver specks. And something about it was absolutely dynamite. And I couldn't find them for a while. Yeah, Joe's got him right there. I couldn't find him for a while. And then like after 6 months of not seeing him anywhere, we were actually going down to Little Gasparilla Island and stopped at a Walmart, and they had like they had like 10 of them on a peg. I bought all 10 of them, and then I haven't seen them since. So anyhow, I could not find that Renegade color, and so let's just do it. And this is the first time we actually tried it. At least I ever tried it in saltwater, and day one got a slam. So that was pretty cool. And I only had like an hour and a half to fish, so it was a brief trip, but proved to work at least.
Where were you fishing this morning?
I went down to Placida. Okay. You had to drop the boat off for service.
How you liking that new boat?
Digging it. Yeah, it's just the micro draft. Yeah, because I was in the Pathfinder before, and yeah, just that micro draft. It's just silly how shallow it floats, and the one impressive thing is that trolling motor from PowerPole. And we did not accept sponsorships. I bought the PowerPole trolling motor. It was the most money I've ever spent on the trolling motor. And it's definitely the quietest trolling motor that I've ever used. So that's a big part of why I like that boat is just how quiet it is. And a lot of which is due to that trolling motor.
And we're giving away a micro draft. I think you can put whatever trolling motor you want on it. Giving away one next month. So if you guys haven't got your tickets, just Google Salt Strong Alliance micro draft giveaway, and you can get your tickets for that. That all goes to the conservation. That's the nonprofit that we teamed up with Darlene, and she does a fantastic job in doing some stuff in and around Tampa, ironically, not too far from where this proposed cruise ship thing is, that they're doing a lot of restoration and, putting down clams and some really cool stuff with the partnership with the DOT. But anyhow, yeah, make sure you look that up. It is a really cool boat. Luke and I and Cameron Richardson, and I'm blanking on captain, the guy who made boats. Yeah. Great dude. And the four grown men went out in this thing in inches of water. And I think that's what gave you the aha moment, is like, I got to get one of these. I'll be able to go in places I've never been in, even in the Maverick. I mean, it's nuts what this micro draft boat can do. Pretty cool.
Yeah, it runs way shallower than the Maverick. I have a 17-foot Maverick, and I still have it. I love that boat. But it even floats shallower too, which blew me away. And yeah, as Joe mentioned, it's just crazy stable. So I see another question come in, and this is a great one. I should have mentioned it. So Saltwater Jacks Fishing asked, would you still use the 8-pound, 6 or 8-pound braid around docks or oysters? So around docks, no. This light line is amazing for open water because you're going to cast farther, and that is like distance is key. Whoever, almost always when I'm like trout fishing, especially where you're drifting over shallow flats, and it's almost always whoever can cast the farthest is going to catch the most fish because you're going to be able to hit the little potholes first. You're just going to be covering more water, and most importantly, that extra water coverage that you're covering, which is the farthest away. That's going to be the best strike zone most of the time because those fish are going to have less idea the dangers in the area. So up in open water, it's amazing. Around docks and hard structure, I do not recommend it because you're going to have to lighten up on the drag. So in using this, like when I landed a couple upper and overslot reds, it takes a while, and those fish make runs. With 6-pound braid, you're only supposed to use the drag for all lines. You're only supposed to use 20 to 30% of the weakest line strength. In this case, it's 6. So what is that? That's like a pound, 1.5 pounds roughly of drag, which is not much. It's super light, and so you cannot control a big fish. And in dock fishing, especially if you have a good lure and you're good at skipping casts, you're going to be hooking into a lot of big fish. So when I'm fishing docks, I'm using 20-pound braid minimum. Like that's 20-pound braid. 30-pound leader with a 40-pound bite tippet if there's snook in the area. Otherwise, I'll just do straight 30 mono leader. And so around hard structure, that's when you don't need distance. Now you need power. Around docks and hard structure, you need power. If you're on open flats, you need distance. So 2 very different types of fishing that require 2 different types of setups. And I'll still use the same rod. It's the slot machine rod. So like I just put the 1,000 size reel on this rod. And I mentioned before the reel, I don't like it anymore. And I've just noticed I've had a couple break offs, which I rarely ever do in open water. And so even though I thought I set the drags good, that smaller reel, that smaller spool, like once you get I caught one red that was 31 inches. And I could feel, I landed that one, but I could feel the drag not be as smooth as like 2,500 size reels that I usually use. Those bigger reels have a bigger surface area for their drag, and I just think it's smoother. Like this is the Fuego reel, the 2,500 Fuego. I have no issues with their drags, but once I go down to this 1,000 size, it doesn't seem like the drag's quite as smooth. And the inches per turn is noticeably slower. So, like, if I want to reel up to do a next cast, I feel like I'm in like slow motion. I'm having to really work to get that lure back. Because I think the 2,500 is like 36 inches per turn, and this one's like 28 or something. So
that's a big difference.
Yeah, and it doesn't seem like that much. Yeah, it's only 8-9 inches or whatever. But like when you're trying to reel in real fast to cast at a tailor, it seems like forever. So the next setup, I'm going to just get the Otis. Actually have this reel here. I was going to take the 10-pound off of this one and put 8 on it. And now this is going to be what I go with next time. And if I see the fish spooking from the 8, then I'll go back down to the 6. I think 6 was a little bit overkill.
So the movie, something about Mary, or whatever, and Ben Stiller picks up the hitchhiker, and the guy's big $1 million idea is an ab workout that's fewer minutes. Why not go to 4-pound test or 2-pound test? I'm being serious. Why do you stop at 6?
Because I started breaking off fish. That's why. Go as light as you can without breaking off. The worst thing we do is break off. First of all, it's just terrible to lose a fish, and it's even worse when they run off with the lure, right? So I really can't stand doing that. So I'm gonna go to the 8 and then make sure that's fine. But even that 8, the 8-pound is noticeably thinner than the 10, so it's going to be casting farther. And I'll do a casting contest on it as well. But even if I do need to go back down to the 6, I'm going to put it on the bigger spool, on the 2500 size spool, just to make sure that drag can be nice and smooth and no break offs. So the questions we have here.
Yeah, ask away, guys. Like, so this is our very first live I think we've done in years, and we're using this new Riverside, I guess, software for our podcast, and we saw it. You could sync up to YouTube. Like, let's try it. We'd love any questions. We'll use some of these questions for future podcast as well. Like I said, this is the kind of the third round of talking about line. The first one was about wind knots in your fishing line. The last one was mono versus fluoro, and now just talking about going really, really light. I don't know if you have a question, but I think if I was myself, 15 years ago, I would have been watching this saying, these guys are full of it. You can't catch big fish on 8 or even 10 pound breaks. I didn't believe you could. Like I said, we were using 20 always. And I remember coming down to the dock when I had some of these guys working, and I was just going down to rinse off my gear. You and I had been fishing. We had a pretty epic day of catching some upper slot and even over slot redfish. And they asked me, "Oh, it looks like you got done fishing." I was like, "Yeah." And like, how'd it go? And I showed them a couple of pictures. They're like, "There's no way you caught those fish with the rods I had in my hand," because they were all lightweight, just like that 2,500 spinning reels with 10-pound braid. And they did not believe me, even though I'm showing them pictures, and I got slime on me, and they literally just like that. It was inconceivable. They're like, "No, you need at least 4,000 and 20-pound braid minimum to kind of reel those fish in." How do you debunk that? How do you tell people that it's not needed? Besides just keep proving it over and over.
Yeah, I mean, hey, more fish for us if you're not using that's fine. But it's just math, right? It's again, for that open water fishing, whoever casts farthest is going to win. So here's, Joe, you're going to appreciate this. You might notice something that you can see who took the picture.
Dad.
Fishing with Dad.
The thumb in the picture, it's Dad.
Yeah, he's got his finger in the picture every time. This is the one. It was just barely in the 31 inches, and that was on that 6-pound braid, and yeah, it felt like the drag was too loose, but it didn't get in the mangroves, and I caught it, and then I tightened the drag down a little bit, and I lost the fish later. So that's why if you're going light, I would recommend go like a one notch at a time, like go from 10 to 8 first before you go from 10 to 6. Because it's a big difference. And yeah, here's just that sight fishing trip. You can see it's glass column out there, and that was just crucial for doing that. Even I got some nice trout doing the same thing. Even got a sheep's head that trip. So, and then a giant storm came and wrecked me.
Well,
but
did you edit out Dad's fingers on that one, or he wasn't there?
No, yeah, he wasn't there the second trip.
Oh, okay, that makes more sense. What is it with dads, with grandpas? They take a picture and they got heavens every time. Like, dude.
I even mentioned I even mentioned it, but yeah, oh well. So yeah, this is only for something open water fishing. So I just want to make it: do not throw 6-pound braid around docks. You're just going to get owned as soon as you get it, even a decent size redfish, or especially a snook. They'll wreck you. And again, back to the fluoro mono. I know we talked about it before last week, and this is all mono. I've completely do away with fluoro, and so that monofilament line it's just so much more abrasion resistant. If you are a fluoro user, and you might go to mono and say, "Hey, I'm catching fewer fish," but if you're using fluoro and you want to make the switch, just go down to a next level of mono. It's going to be stronger, I can promise you. Try to just keep the same diameter line, and the mono is going to be stronger, and you're gonna lose fewer fish because it's just better at abrasion.
Yep. I got a follow-up question. It sounds like the tweaker, the Polk County tweaker, which you can get at fishstrong.com, inside a member save 20% off. It sounds like that's your go-to lure right now in the wintertime, in the colder months.
Yeah, specifically when it's calm and clear. So I've been fishing in between the fronts that's when it's calmer and just like bright blue skies and clear water. There's just that extra vibration seems to spook them off, especially when it's like glassed out the last couple of times. Other than today, it's been glass. And so if you're out and if it's windy, again, the more churned up the water, the less you need to go with this super light setups. So this is specifically for calm and clear and away from structure. I just want to emphasize it is amazing at getting strikes, but if you're getting these strikes next to structure, you're gonna lose the fish. And if the water's churned up or they can't see as well, they're not going to be as spooky. So you might as well go with the stronger line because it's not going to be that much of it.
But not 20. Stick with 10. Like in
10's plenty. 10's plenty for open water. But again, for dock, especially for the bigger fish around docks or rocks, at least 20. And if not more. And a couple of questions.
But I will say, just to not discourage something, they have to go get 20. If you're just fishing docks to catch some okay trout or reds, like in shallow docks, I fish 10 all the time. Like those docks in St. Pete that we fish, I rarely have 20 unless we know we're going to a deeper dock with like some bigger snook or something. But in general, I use the same 10 pound. I'll beef up the leader, maybe sometimes the 30 or 40, but I'll still keep the 10 pound braid.
Yeah, and especially if you're going after sheep's head, no more than 10. That's plenty, and they're very wary fish. So multiple questions come in about the line color. Braid, I don't think it matters. I do color for my own sake, kind of like with jig heads. I use the round eye jig heads, and I do the eye color to based on the weight of the eye. I don't do it if the fish don't care. They're not looking at the eye and saying, is it red or yellow? I'm gonna depend on that. I'm gonna hit it or not. So I do it for my own personal organization. So I do for my jig heads, yellow is 1/8 ounce, pearl is 3/16, glow is 1/4 ounce, and red is 1/2 ounce. It's just easy. And then same for the line. So I do blue. Blue braid is the 10 pound, and I'm currently doing 6 or green for the light line. So this right now I have that 6 pound green. I'm going to go to the 8 pound green next. So the green is going to be my lightweight setup. The blue is my normal 10 and just easier on me. I don't think the fish care. Because I used to use yellow. Like when we started doing videos, I used yellow just so I could see the line.
I viz yellow.
Yeah, and I couldn't tell a difference. And the only reason I switched away from yellow is taking Otis out. He eventually, it's my dog Otis, he loves fishing, but he gets a little bit too excited and will fall in. And as a puppy, it was funny because he would swim at the last splash. And then he got smart and realized if he just followed that high vis yellow line, he'll get to the fish. And he broke off a nice cobia, and I've not forgiven him on that yet. And after that happened, I immediately took away all my high vis line and I went to gray to match the clouds, so Otis couldn't see the line. I don't think the fish care. Otis can definitely tell, that's for sure, that high vis yellow.
I had a follow-up question that didn't get to finish on that tweaker. So I heard you say earlier that you were just doing a slow straight retrieve. Is that your only thing you're doing now? Are you still doing the twitch pause? Because I feel like, most of our tutorials out there are more of a twitch pause, or is that kind of slow glide only in certain times when you're, fishing?
Yeah.
Okay.
Good question. So the twitch pause will almost always get the most strikes as long as the fish are aggressive and not spooky. So we'll throw that. Or tarpon. Tarpon's whoever's juvenile tarpon, they love a straight retrieve, not so much the twitches. So, but for snook, reds and trout and flounder, the twitching, especially with jerk lures like the tweaker, the twitching just generates strikes. This has just a quick little dart in the water, let it settle down, settle down. It triggers strikes. But when they're so spooky that just twitching the lure is spooking them off, then obviously let's not twitch anymore and let's do a straight retrieve. And what I've been doing, especially in this really shallow water, is that when you're doing that straight retrieve, especially redfish, they have a little bit broader shoulders than trout. Those reds, you'll see there'll be like a submarine coming up behind the lure. And if I see them submarining, following, and then turning away, that's when I'll start doing a little bit of a twitch. Because once the lure's past the fish, they're not going to be spooked off from the twitch. It's only when that line is making a big vibration near them. So in this case, they're following. So the line vibrating isn't going to be a big deal. The lure's what's closest to them. So in that case, I'll do a couple of small twitches, and usually that'll generate the strike. But in most cases, I'm just doing a straight retrieve, and they'll hit it. So, Only for calm. If it's like today, it was windy and I was doing 0 straight retrieves, and I was granted I did try a couple, but all of my strikes came on the twitches, so I did mostly twitch retrieves.
Cool, good to know. Any other questions? Otherwise, I see we're already at almost 40 minutes. But yeah, definitely leave them. Even if you see that we're not still live, we'll go back and check these comments and try to get some more ideas for the future podcast, regardless if it's online or tackle or the 90-10 zone or smart fishing spots, whatever. We'd love to hear it.
Yeah, and so one came in about the double tweaker rig. So I'll mention that too. That's the sidekick rig that I've been doing a color contest with, where it's basically a leader with 2 of these lures, and they're basically riding side by side so that the fish can hit whichever one it's attracted to most. It works great for when the fish are a little bit more fired up. It is also great at spooking fish in shallow, clear, calm water. So I do not recommend the double sidekick when it's really calm, especially going after redfish. Trout don't seem to care; they'll still hit it. But I've caught 0 redfish up in shallow, calm water. And then as soon as I switch to the single, especially on lighter line, then I'm catching a bunch of redfish with it. So I do not recommend that for calm water. And it's really more for color contests, because it's kind of a pain to do, because a lot of times it gets, especially when you're unhooking the fish, it'll start getting wrapped up. But yeah, so I do, you mentioned the knot. I do the braid uni knot, which is 2 times through the loop and then 10 coils, like 10 braid uni coils. And it's been a good setup.
Sweet.
So that's it.
Cool.
Yeah, first live. It was fun.
Yeah, that was great. That's great. Cool. All right, guys. Well, continue to comment down below, and we'll continue to do these if you guys like them. We record podcasts anyway, so we rarely edit them. So we figure might as well just go live and put ourselves out there and let people make fun of like diamonds. All right, guys. We appreciate you, and I'll talk to you on the next episode. If you want access to smart fishing spots and the tackle tester, we're giving away free prawns right now. So you can get a free prawn. If you remember, check your email yesterday. We do a tackle tester every month where you get to test out some sort of tackle in our store completely for free. You just got to pay for the little shipping to get there. Obviously, if you add more to your order, you can get up to the free shipping. And we just want feedback. We want to see what's working where, and you're kind of part of the testing process. And of course, 20 to 30% off everything in our store. Luke mentioned like slot machine rod that's still $100 off, so that already pays for your membership if you do nothing else, just buying that one rod. So a lot of cool stuff. Yep.
I'll do a little bonus for those watching. So use smart fishing spots. This is the map. This shaded area is the area that the system was saying there should be fish, and I caught my slam right in that little corner, right at the end of that smart spot. So members, make sure to be using this thing. It's been working. And wintertime fishing, it's tough because the fish are harder to find, but when you find them, there's going to be a bunch in one zone. And I had a really fun morning because I just got into one of those fun 90-10 spots. So make sure to use that software.
Yep. And then you can drop, Luke did a video over the weekend, the catch log. So the catches he caught this morning, he'll put those in for his own private catch log. And so he's got all that data there, and you can drop as many waypoints. It's on unlimited, even take old pictures. So many cool things with smart fishing spots. All right, guys, I need to bolt, but we will talk to you on the next episode. Appreciate y'all. Woo-woo.
See ya.
'Cause fishing, it's in my soul. It was passed down to me from the days of old. Find us on the water if there was a way. It's been said my papa, he wrote the book on catching big reds and 20-pound snook. I wish I knew all the things he knew today. For he's the reason why we are this way. And he put fishing in our soul.